Alright guys, Tactical Bit here again today. Gonna look at some Rostermania rumours for April the 10th. And yeah, yesterday's presentation went about as well as we could have expected, so excellent stuff on that overall. CoDBurner has been saying a lot of stuff on his Reddit the last couple of days. Some pro players have said that a lot of this stuff is wrong, so of course take it with a big pinch of salt. But, of course, a lot of pro players have always said that this stuff is wrong because that's how it's happened historically, and it turns out to be legit. So, not all of it probably will be correct. Of course, things change all the time, so make sure you keep that in the back of your mind, that even though things that might have been said a day ago could have been completely legit, by the time you're watching this video, they may no longer be on the table. So those things are always a possibility, but yeah, like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. And so we have 3 posts to go through, and we've got a number of comments as well to look through on each of these. And yeah, a few tweets to look through at the end of the video. So firstly, Rostermania rumours and updates on FaZe, and Envy. This is about a day ago from CoDBurner, so this is like April the 8th on the very evening of that day. So this says that FaZe didn't get by the spot. So of course it was rumoured that the Scrapz 0 team is going to be going to FaZe alongside Zuma, potentially Attached, but it does seem like right now that Attached might well be stuck on Evil Geniuses because there's something in their loan contract where the organisation gets to decide whether they let the player go back to the team that they loaned it from. So effectively Attached is on EG on loan, but I'm pretty sure EG get to decide at least until the end of the season whether he goes back on our same situation with 100 Thieves. So with Priester and Crowder, if you wanted to make sure that was cleared up. So yeah, Scrapz 0, Celium, Zuma +1 was supposed to be the roster. And as it says here, yeah, FaZe Red Reserve is still going to meet like 2 or 3 orgs, but apparently he said in a later post that by April the 17th, I think is the day, that's the day that when Red Reserve have to sell it, or effectively everyone becomes free agents and they can't get any money from it. So it does seem like that's still going to happen. Attach is still on EG, and I think he's stuck there anyway unless FaZe wants to pay big to get him back early on loan. So yeah, if they put big money down, then Evil Geniuses can let him go, but most of the chances are that, you know, Evil Geniuses will just stick with him, because he's been pretty damn good so far anyway. So if FaZe doesn't get the spot, it's 0 to Scrapz to Envy in place of Apathy and Pat. That is Aches, Kyler, however that's meant to be pronounced, that's HUKE. Still wants the whole roster dropped, and Silly was trying to convince Scrapz to come to Envy so he could keep his spot on the team. If the FaZe buy happens of Red Reserve's spot, then expect at least Assault to be gone for Pars. There's so many moves in Rostermania waiting on the spot situation with Red to happen, and with that considered, it's most likely to be moved off Envy in order is Pat, then Assault, then Apathy, then Silly. I'm only maybe 10% chance Envy doesn't make any kind of a change. That's rather interesting. FaZe would offer 10k a month, so if FaZe gets the spot, then Envy would probably need to do 15k to convince Scrapz to go there instead. And I even heard some things about, like, you know, CoDBurner was saying that Scrapz, you know, he doesn't want to go to LG, for example, but there's even been some rumours, yeah, so yeah, like this one further down here we'll get to in a second. LG looked into Scrapz, but he's selling to go into FaZe and Envy. Scrapz actually replied to a tweet from the CWL Intel account saying that, like, this is not necessarily wrong, but he's just in it to try and get the best team that can possibly win. It's not like he's effectively saying he's not necessarily ruled out LG, and it was also, I don't know if you guys saw, but some kind subscriber let me know on Twitter that in, I think it was TJ's stream, Formal had joined the TS call, the TeamSpeak call, and said something about like how Classic was using the Rampart, but he was terrible with every other gun, and even Formal doesn't want him to use the Rampart. And like whether he's still using it, and whether there's some potentially internal turmoil even within that LG team that just won Full Worth. Potentially Scrapz could be thinking about that if they are considering a change for a guy like Classic, if he's refusing to move off the Rampart and the rest of them don't really want it to be used anyway. Interesting. Attached still wants the other 2 that haven't been dropped yet, but I don't know who that would be because leftovers are their awful league records. Yeah, some smaller stuff. So apparently Temp wants maybe, so this is Temp, this is Accuracy, this is 8 Aqua, sorry. So yeah, Accuracy, Aqua drops, and it will most likely be Accuracy. Method is trying to finesse his way onto any team. Brack wants to try and go to Envy. The other current rumour is that Brack might be going to Denial alongside Rated and Joe, and well, all of that good stuff. So we'll get to that in just a second here. Denial players looking for a new AR, which is interesting. So I don't know if that's Whalers, but this the Denial situation has been updated since then. So we'll leave that for now. FaZe don't want Farah because Zero and Scrapz don't want to play with him. Also, this is an interesting one about Optic making a change. Apparently they're not happy with TP, haven't been with his S&D strat since World War II. Now, I don't know to what extent this is legit by any means, but of course, I was talking about coaching in yesterday's video, so it's quite coincidental that this stuff comes up. Rek thought about Alex, but we're going to stick with Shawnee, and yeah, all the rest of this stuff is pretty legit and expected, I guess. So there's a little bit of foreshadowing to what we're going to talk about with Denial. CoDBurner says here, talking about Denial, what if I said the entire roster becomes English speakers? A little bit more about TP and Optic here. Yeah, that's the thinking. He makes much more from Twitch than he might retire eventually. The word is they think he focuses on the wrong things. So what I think is interesting about like Crowder, for example, because he was talking about in one of the 02-100 videos that like he still plays the game a lot. Like he's still grinding the game to some degree while he's a coach, whereas TP is not playing the game. He's playing, you know, Blackout, right? So he's not playing the game competitively, he just watches it, which maybe puts him at a disadvantage to some other coaches, you could argue. So sorry this isn't fully centralized, but JF702 here. Now this is Silly's Twitter account on Envy. This is probably the most inaccurate burner post to date. So yeah, as I say, take it with a huge pinch of salt, smother that. So this is the second burner post. I heard this directly from more than 10 players and a few higher ups in orgs that Aches, Apathy, Assault, Silly have zero say over the team now, and it's all on HUKE. Apparently they're all upset how this situation was handled and they didn't hear from management right away even though they kept calling. I heard it again from more than 10 people. They're saying that if they could do it all over again and go to Splice, who they had an offer from and team with Jerd, because Splice was going to pay a little more but they believed in HUKE and thought he wasn't going to make a lot of changes with the team so quickly. That's why he stopped caring to listen to Pat. That's Aches. HUKE isn't going anywhere and he's going to be Envy's scump. Supposedly management got back to the Fall Guys a few days later and were only told that a change was being made. No, what? And outside of that, they're being left in the dark. HUKE was already talking to Scrapz before Fort Worth and they didn't even know about that. I think the team chemistry is done, same way EU got broken after Clay and Cap had a thing. So a change has to happen. Their stock isn't the best, so it's not bad either way. They should all find teams if HUKE does drop them all. Any of the Envy guys are free to come post, tell me this is wrong, etc, etc. Actually, I think this is the post that maybe Assault replied to. So we'll try and find that post. We'll try and find that comment further down. Yeah, okay, here it is from Adam Assault. So assuming Burner is correct. Now, this may not be Adam Assault's actual account, but if you look at this, 3 years ago, joined 2015. So if you got the Adam Assault name for 3 years, it's probably legit. And yeah, he says, if you're the real Assault, do you want to confirm my post? Does an upvote count? So, well, this may very well be legit with this Team Envious situation. Where these Envy guys will end up is interesting. I've heard, and we'll have a look in a second, that they could well be evil geniuses because I think they're going to drop a fair few players on that team. And it does look like at the current time that the Rated Joe and maybe Bance and those sort of players are going to be on Denial instead of some of those French-speaking guys, which is a tough break for them. But we'll get into that here in just a second. Okay, so this is the most recent post from CoDBurner. And it says the following, Denial in red. I'm hearing some of the players on Denial were told to find a different team. I also heard Denial bought Rated Joe and Bance from red and expect an announcement tonight, which didn't seem to happen. I expect all of the current Denial players to be dropped and one move to the sub due to language issues. Now, I think Whalers can speak English decently, and I think maybe Breezy can also speak English kind of differently. The other guys, so Risk, Natche, and of course Zeekt, I'm pretty sure they don't speak English. So it seems right now that those guys may no longer be on the squad. They also may well do a thing where they move one of their current players to the substitute bench, and then technically it still comes under the rules of keeping one of the players in the team, which is kind of stupid. And yeah, well, it'd be a real shame for the French scene and Denial, especially given Gotarga just won that like personality esports 64 thing on Twitter. So yeah, it would be a tough day for the French scene if this does actually get confirmed. I wouldn't be surprised. I think Denial have kept this roster for long enough, but when players that have made multiple grand finals at championship events come along and need a spot on a league team, you're going to do a fair bit to try and get them on the squad. So, well, it'll be a shame if this happens, but I guess that's just the state of things at the current time, the way it can go with, you know, organizations being allowed to make effectively unlimited changes in these roster periods, which ends April the 22nd, just to make that clear for you guys again. So I also heard that a rumor of Brat going to Denial too, but he'd rather be on Envy because of the better league record and HUKE. So the rumored squad is Rated Joe, potentially Bance, Alex is definitely likely at the current time, and maybe Brack as well, because Rated did say the other day that he has a 4, he's a team confirmed 4 out of 5, but then a tweet that I will look at a little bit later, like he seems pretty stressed. So maybe that's not completely set in stone. Anyway, Red still hasn't sold the spot to FaZe and won't sell to anyone because they have 2 to 3 meetings this week. This is exactly what was said a couple of days ago. Attach is stuck on AG. This time I heard it from someone in management. He will end up getting whoever Envy drops. Heard Decimate is back to Envy, which seems, well, pretty ratified from a lot of different sources at the current time. Doesn't know if he'll drop Apathy or Assault, but he doesn't get Scrapz and Zero because he needs to make space somehow. FaZe holds Celium and no matter what, and also, as I said, Assault replies to his post. Just a quick interesting thing here, do you have any idea who the orgs meeting with Red Reserve are? Heard one is LP, so Lightning Panda's potentially trying to get back in the game, which is kind of interesting. Now, I'll link this post in the description box below if you want to go through and read through the rest of it. This is a comment thread because Joey Nubsy, the Gen G coach, he comments a couple of things talking about how CoDBurner's just talking nonsense, which of course, maybe he is. We don't know if any of this stuff this season is particularly well ratified, but I'm sure there's some truth going on behind the scenes here. And anyway, so this is an interesting chain of threads from, you know, Joey Nubsy calling out the CoDBurner to some degree. We also have this because last night there was all this stuff going on about someone pulling CoDBurner's IP. And, well, CoDBurner says here VPNs are wonderful things. People thought he was going to get, like, exposed where exactly he lives because of this IP address tracking. So, you know, there are some weirdos out there, CoDBurner included, to be honest. The stuff he's doing for the scene is not exactly good for the professional side of things. But, you know, the fans find it entertaining, so it is what it is. So before we finish, let's go through a few tweets here. Scrapz says, just know today is a day I will never forget. Keep it in under lock and key. So potentially something's been signed. Maybe he's got something signed. Who knows? Because yes, if FaZe haven't necessarily signed the spot yet from Red Reserve, that may imply that Scrapz has actually done another deal with another contract elsewhere. So, well, we'll have to see how that turns out. Looney says, some people just don't believe my system, which is interesting. Talks to JCab a little bit as well about this one. So yeah, I'm intrigued about this, considering we've heard potentially, you know, Accuracy and Aqua maybe thinking about getting dropped off the team by some of the guys like Temp. Maybe this is about them, who really knows. Josh says, slowly but surely getting back into the swing of things, not playing in nearly 2 months. Was some rumours that maybe even Josh could come over to that denial squad if they are going to get rid of the French guys and have him in instead of, say, Brack ends up getting on Envy because he wants the better league spot. Maybe Josh could come back. That would be interesting, but I don't really see it too likely. Rated says this, I'm going to be bowled by the 22nd, which is, well, I'm sure it's a tough situation on his half. And yeah, Endura says the following, been some pretty brutal roster changes this Pro League, no one is safe. Macat says, it's one big circus, everyone trying to stay in the league at all costs, putting decent numbers up to get a franchise contract. So these are the teams. So this denial roster seems like it's getting broken apart. At least a few of these guys will probably be off the squad. And, well, a lot of the Red Reserve players will probably end up finding themselves here, especially the Rated and Joe duo, possibly Bants as well, maybe even Brack off this Accelerate Gaming team. So there's going to be a hell of a lot of changes here to discuss over the next couple of weeks when things do get set in stone. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new as always. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.
UAV mission timeline 50% expanded.
Oh no, I missed y'all! Oh my god, bro. That's a fucking clip right there.